as like practicalities go with this nomadic life we're living, what's the greatest challenges that you face living a nomadic life at your age?
I think one of the most challenging parts is my own apprehensions. I think about what might or might not happen, and I have to I have to move through those apprehensions and
Mhm.
say, because most of the things that I fear have happened.
Thoughts become
Going the
things.
wrong, losing my backpack, going the wrong direction on the
Mhm.
subway, forgetting something, my all stuff that I should have packed, and whatever else. And here
Yeah.
I am, alive and well. And so I I think that most of the battles relative to this are rational fears that need to be faced and not allowing them to decide for me what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I might, as an older person, the practical thing is to just um, move through it and do before, frankly, before I think too much about it.
Right.
In fact, that's the pattern that I have done. Well, yeah, I have um, told people what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
And then I fear embarrassment if I don't do them. And so
Mm.
that helps. So it's mostly just energizing myself to not allow the fact that I'm 80 years old, it's a number, get
Yeah.
in the way of my decisions. And in terms of actual practicalities, it's mostly bottom bunk, not top bunk.
I hear you on that. And to your credit, I don't even enjoy hostels anymore. I usually do the Airbnb route. If I do hostels, then I want a private room. I don't mind sharing the bathroom. However, I do like my private space. I did 1 year of bunk bed living in dorm style rooms and hostels, traveling my first year while I was full on backpacking. And it wasn't always a pleasant experience for me with those young backpackers. So
Yeah. Well,
now I prefer my own room, and I'm good to go.
right. I will say that I gravitate toward Airbnbs now because I'm writing and trying to do work as well. And it's
Right.
harder to do that in a hostel. The Wi-Fi may not be so good, and there's so many distractions.
Yeah, and that's really true. So when you are traveling in hostels and finding your way through your destinations, or even staying in touch with loved ones, like how do you think society's perception of aging and travel can change or maybe should change? Because
Well, so
I
go
know
ahead.
that I get a lot of questions and sometimes judgment about my lifestyle at my age. And just like you said, age is just a number, which I completely agree with.
Yeah.
And not everyone understands this lifestyle.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a place where I think our experience diverges a little bit. And I don't know if it has to do with that I'm a male and I'm a man and you're a woman,
Mhm.
and whether the stereotypes have more impact. For me, they do have impact. I mean, and as I said, I run right into the face of it by declaring my age and seeing that as an asset
Yeah.
in being able to interact with people. I'm safe. I'm an old man. I'm safe. So people don't, generally uh, are open to relationship and being
Mhm.
talking personally. So I probably don't feel as much, and my family and the people, friends, some have wondered, why on earth aren't you scared? And to which I immediately say, I
Yeah.
feel safer traveling in Europe than I do walking the streets of the downtown wherever in the US.
Agreed.
So that part. So there's a little bit of that, and every once in a while somebody will feel motherly, and so it's or or if I post anything, like, I don't know, though, maybe some responses to the posting that my knee I was damaged for whatever, and um
Yeah.
but in general, I don't think I experience it as much as you. But ageism is such a thing. The times when I've experienced it and I feel as if people treat me as if I'm essentially a nobody, not to be taken seriously, as if
Mm.
because of my age, I just don't count. That irritates me like crazy.
Yeah. I don't know that I've experienced that yet, as much as the curiosities of me being a woman
Mhm.
who is 60 and traveling the world solo.
Yes.
And what I have found, I mean, there are all kinds of things I do to ensure my safety as best I can. Traveling outside at night alone is one of the things I try to avoid. And if I do go out and share drinks with a group of people, I limit it to one or two drinks within a certain time frame. It's so important to always have your wits about you at all times when you are traveling alone. Like, you constantly have to be aware of your surroundings
Mhm.
and all of the activity that's going on around you, to include the people that you're with, especially if they are new friends.
Yeah.
But when I was traveling through Colombia, I felt like being an older woman actually helped me,
Oh, interesting.
because because they they honor and appreciate and respect the elderly
Hmm.
in those Latin countries. And so they're looked upon in a very different way, and they're not taken advantage of in most situations. So I feel like when I was walking down the sidewalk and a group of kids, would pass me by, like, I didn't necessarily feel threatened by them. And it has always become a habit of mine that if I am passing a group of people that seem to be interested in me, I kind of just nonchalantly turn around, or like kind of do a 180, like, where am I, kind of thing, just so that I know that they're still walking in the same direction
Ah.
as they pass me. Um, so I've just become really good about making sure that I'm safe. And I
Mhm.
think that that's probably one of the biggest concerns that my family and friends have for me
Sure.
is my safety. And and sometimes it's a little frustrating, because I I feel like sometimes that they don't think I am thinking about my safety,
Oh.
when really it's my number one priority next to my health. Of course, I want to be a safe traveler. Of course, I want to continue my travels in a very safe way. And the perception that I have, um, or that I've experienced, I think, from others, has more to do with my friends and family and loved ones from back in the US,
Hmm.
not from
Hmm.
where I'm traveling. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
people are amazed and sometimes inspired and impressed that I am traveling alone, and, the courage and the bravery and all of that. And I don't really think of it that way.
Hmm.
Like, I am one person who's living my dream.
Hmm.
And I feel like anybody can do this. at
Mhm.
any age. I mean, your age, my age, any age in between. And what it comes down to for me, or maybe what sets me apart, and you as well, is the fact that we just took action.
Yes.
Like, we bought the ticket, we did the thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that
That's
has
the thing.
become, yes, it's become such an
Mhm.
important part of my response now, because I really don't feel like I'm anyone special. And I'm not retired. I didn't win the lotto. I'm not living from a very large savings account. I am traveling abroad. I have to be very budget minded, and I'm working. I'm
Yeah.
working remotely. And because I'm a freelancer, projects don't come consistently all the time. And so I have to be very, very mindful of that. And so destinations matter, how I travel matter, and of course, the safety aspect of it
Right.
too.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have, and
Wh-
before I ask you, the other thing that is really very important to me is staying connected with my loved ones. And I
Mhm.
do that through video chats with my grandkids and my kids. We have like a group chat on WhatsApp,
Mhm.
and we do video chats. We try to get together every month. And my youngest granddaughter, my daughter, is very good about calling me on the video, and I get to have little video time with my granddaughter. She's just now almost 18 months old. So um, staying connected to my family and friends is so, so, so important to me. And that's what kind of keeps me going.
Mhm.
And because I miss them.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course, I miss them, but I also want to live my life with the
Mhm.
years that I have left in the best way that I can, and in the ways that I choose to.
Well, I was going to say, when you were mentioning the family and how they feel about this, I have to say that while they have had some apprehensions about my doing this, my family has been very supportive. They've kind of said, "Have at it." Um, I'm on I have a pension and Social Security, and one reason I can do this is that now that I am not paying rent for or paying for a house or whatever or a car or
Right?
any of that, I just leverage that into the Airbnbs and the plane tickets. But my family is so supportive, and I have older siblings that range from 89 rather, to 95, almost 95. And
Wow.
they're still functioning, and as I love to say, as annoying as ever. And they even, I mean, at first, my sister especially would, or one of the brothers might say, well, what is this you're doing? But our mother used to say, do it while you can. And so that has become a mantra for the family, doing as absolutely as much as we are able to do at wherever we are in life. And so they've been supportive, and my kids and oh, my grandkids, they just sort of like having a cool grandpa. That so
Yeah.
uh, I enjoy that, but that they've been supportive, and I too use the media to stay connected. My
Yep.
daughter will initiate a FaceTime um, at various times, and I do this too. I go back to the U.S. for in the spring and then the holidays, so that I in the December, so that I can be with them long enough and be connected, see my older siblings, and
Yeah.
spend time with them, and that's been helpful. And I have some friends that I've met over the years, even that travel, that also from Europe, couple in particular that we FaceTime every once in a while. So yeah, the electronics has been very helpful.
Yeah,
Oh, and
definitely. And
by the way, Facebook is where everybody knows what I'm doing, because I do a lot of posting.
yeah, me too. Me
Yeah.
too. I do stay connected with most everybody on Facebook and Instagram. a little bit. And um, what I now my situation's a little different. I don't know where your kids are all located, but I have one in California, one in Maine, and one in Florida. So it's
Mm.
very hard to see everybody at the same time or in one trip. I do travel back at least once a year, sometimes two, and it can be difficult to, to try and see everybody because they are spread so far apart. So that's typically not possible.
Mhm.
However, I do love being able to share these stories with my grandkids.
Mhm.
And I'm Gma because it's cooler.
Okay.
It's a cooler name for me. And and so because for me, this is all about leaving a legacy for my kids and my grandkids.
Yep.
To pursue your dreams, your passions, to do what makes you happy. And the age does not matter.
Mhm. Well,
And
and I want my granddaughters to get outside of the country. They have done that. But I even
yeah,
traveled with my oldest granddaughter. We traveled together for 3 weeks in Europe. And I'll give a little gift to the others, all of them, with encouraging them to use it to get out of the country and travel.
yep, I have the same goal. My grandkids, I've got four that are early teens, and then my one 18-month-old granddaughter. So they're not quite young or not quite old enough to travel on their own yet. However, I would like to take them on a trip of their choosing when they graduate. And that would be really special for me to be able to
Yeah.
experience that with them if that's something that they still want to do.
Right, right.
So as far as like technology and connectivity, you mentioned you do a lot of writing, and I know you're writing a book,
Mhm.
and I am too, except mine has been put on pause, and I will say that you have inspired me to kind of jump back into that realm of writing again. Um, so when you're like, has technology impacted your travel, or maybe how has it
Yeah, it
impacted your travels and the ability to connect with others, aside from the social media and the video chatting, and maybe share a little bit of like what digital tools or resources that have really been indispensable for your lifestyle as a nomadic traveler.
yeah, and mine is fairly simple. When I started traveling years ago, I carried a much heavier laptop than my MacBook Pro, which I'm grateful is it's very helpful. And I would blog as I traveled.
Mm-hmm.
And what that did for me and continues to do for me is it keeps me connected, uh, uh, and I have a sense of community. And what I travel with now is a MacBook Pro, an iPad, and my phone. And I write um, on the computer now. For many years, I only took an iPad, and I wrote my posts on that for Facebook or even working on my
Mm,
book. I
wow.
would do that on the iPad. Now I use specifically Google Docs.
Yep.
So it's in the cloud and everything is there. And again, my editor, I have an editor, and sees everything I write.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm meeting with her this afternoon, and I will be held accountable for what I have and haven't done, which is a good thing. Um, but at any rate, it's these tools are my bread and butter for
Yeah.
traveling, and I don't even know when I talk about being on my own and traveling with so little. Yes, I'm traveling with little, but the little bit in terms of electronics brings a world of humanity and resources to me.
Yeah.
And as I say, it's mostly just Google Docs that I use for the writing.
Yeah.
And I do have a Substack, which is a kind of a sort of blog that a lot of writers use, and that's now one of the significant features. I write 2 posts a month, and at any rate,
Yeah.
that's been my kind of lifeline.
That's great. I too travel with the same tools, except as a graphic designer and book designer, I travel with a separate external monitor, which is
Mhm.
actually extremely lightweight and fits in a case very nicely. And so in addition to that, I have
Yeah.
my MacBook Pro and my iPad and my iPhone,
Mhm.
and it it's everything I need. And you're right, it's my bread and butter as well. And I get along just fine with it. And
Mhm.
I personally haven't had very many connection issues as far as Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
There was a
me either.
there was an instance in Peru when I got very south in Peru. I was in the middle of a book project, a very important book project, and the I actually ended up having to stay in a hotel there because they didn't have many Airbnb options. It was a very remote location in Peru, and the Wi-Fi was horrible, absolutely horrible. I couldn't stay connected. I couldn't keep meetings with my client. The author was getting frustrated. My publisher client was getting frustrated. So I ended up having to cut my trip short and take a bus to another destination
Mhm.
where the city was bigger and the Wi-Fi was stronger. And that's only happened a few times, and that's really in remote areas that I have traveled to.
Yeah.
But by and large, the Wi-Fi issues now, I really don't encounter many.
Yeah.
And and I do check the
Mhm.
strength of the Wi-Fi with
Yes.
various locations before I go, because sometimes you never know.
Now, I stayed in a hostel in Freiburg, Germany, which I love. That's just the coolest place. And they have a cathedral and a big market that's every day of the week, but Sunday and whatever. But I stayed in a hostel. What was it? Oh, I'm not remembering the name of it, but hostel was wonderful. Flowers all around. They had no Wi-Fi.
What?
None. No Wi-Fi.
Wow.
And so what I would do is take my phone with me. I would go to the market, and then across from the cathedral were some businesses,
Uh-huh.
and there was a little a kind of a porch. And when I stood with my back to the wall, I could get the Wi-Fi of the business and use that. And there were other people, a few of us, who would stand there, and I would just go there and do whatever I needed to do with the Wi-Fi.
So sometimes cafes and restaurants are my saving grace as
Oh yeah.
well. Like
Mhm.
sometimes you don't always have modern conveniences everywhere
Mhm.
you go, So um, you know, I I'm sure you have a lot of reflections and insights about your travels, as do I. Um, what lessons have you learned about yourself and the world through your travels?
Um, how much time do we have? No. Uh,
I know, I know.
yeah.
This is a big
Well,
question, and
yeah.
I too could spend a
Okay.
very long time answering it.
Mhm. Well, just a smattering. One of the first things is that I am part of a world. I am not separate from all the rest of the people on the planet. We're made of exactly the same stuff. Whether it's in different languages, yes, but the content is so similar. Cultures are different, but the basics. You, who am I? What am I about? What should I be doing? Relationships, who am I in love with and need, and whatever. In my former years, I did a lot of counseling of people who were struggling with relationships and young people, and those kinds of things, to realize that there simply is no difference. We
Yeah.
so much do we stereotype other cultures, and we feel as if they're just different from us, and they're not. We have this, so that profound thing. And to gain a perspective, I was a pastor in earlier years, and to expand my understanding of people and their the way they deal with the mystery of life,
Mm,
to affirm and appreciate and not try to change them to something else or to match my perceptions of reality, but to affirm and support and connect and discover how they perceive the world. And so
yeah.
my view of reality has expanded so much, and it's helped me decide who I am. That was one of the purposes after Marianne died and I had
Mhm.
retired. There were no markers left that said who I was at that time, the person I was,
Mm,
because I did pastor things and I responded to other people's needs. And Marianne had Parkinson's disease for 24 of our 45 years, and
wow.
I had needs. And all of a sudden, there were no external needs showing me who I was and telling me who I was. So to walk out, and I even changed. I used to be Pastor Pete. And when I traveled, started traveling, Peter, I'm just Peter. And to
Mm,
discover who Peter is, standing on a mountain in New Zealand and feeling the agony and pain of losing Marianne, and realizing who I am contains our 45 years together, 48 years together.
yeah.
And so this is who I am, and who I got to say to people when traveling. They didn't know any of my history or anybody, and I didn't know any of theirs. So we could just be who we were. And so I got to discover the somebody that I am and begin to be the person I want to be.
I love that. What a beautiful answer to that very big question. And you're right. We are all one, and that too has made a very big impact and impression on me as I have gone through my travel through all these different countries and cultures. And what I've learned about myself is, sometimes I can do hard things. This type of lifestyle requires a lot of mental acuity. And because you're constantly on the move and you're constantly having to calibrate and recalibrate and sometimes recalibrate again, you really have to be confident in those decisions. And so this has gained my confidence, um, for sure. But I've also learned that I'm resilient and that I can bounce back from things. Like I've had all kinds of well thought out plans that have gone awry.
Oh, really? Never
Oh, yeah.
happens.
I know. Imagine that, right?
Yeah,
Imagine that, reaching for a lemon and buckling my knee.
I guess.
Right. But, when you touched on the, we are one as humanity, like I have met some really, really beautiful people in the world. And I will have to say that even though most of my travels have been through Latin America, I still don't speak Spanish very well. I know more than I did when I first started, which
Mhm.
was zero. However, one of the beautiful things is that we haven't had to communicate to get our point across.
Mhm.
And that has really been a beautiful experience, that knowing that even though we don't speak the same language, I can still get help, or we can still communicate in ways
Mhm.
where we understand one another. And I love that, especially now that I'm in Portugal, and Spanish was difficult enough for me, and
Mhm.
wrapping my head around Portuguese
No,
is,
no,
yeah,
no, no.
I have my little book, but I only know the pleasantries, the thank you and
Yeah.
the good morning. So um, but I'm proud of what I've done.
Mhm.
And I mean, this life just makes me so happy.
Mhm.
In spite of the trials and the errors and the challenges I may come up again, like I still would not trade this life
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
for another in this moment. And if you could give advice to someone considering a similar path, what would that be?
Well, first of all, I want to pick up on something you said earlier about things I've discovered about myself. Um,
Mm,
what I've discovered at 67, almost 68, I climbed mountains in New Zealand. I rode a horse in the snowy mountains of Australia, snorkeled the Great Barrier Reef, never having done any, I'm terrified of water. I'd
yeah,
never ridden a horse. I um, and I'd not climbed mountains. Now I did train and I had horseback riding lessons before I left and whatever, but that I could not have imagined doing those things. Could never
yeah,
in my life have imagined that. And as you, I did accomplish them.
yeah,
I um I really did. And if I were to say what I would say to people who are going to do this kind of a lifestyle, is you can be as afraid as you want, but go ahead, buy
yeah,
the ticket. Just buy the ticket. Do the, if you if you wait to think your way through to getting ready to do it, you'll never do it. You just will never do it.
it's true.
And and so the what I did is I think a healthy thing to do, and that is after Marianne died, I shifted from why would I do this to why not? Why not? Why not? Ride a horse. I love the movie Man from Snowy River with all this beautiful horseback riding and whatever.
Yeah,
Why not? I can take horseback riding lessons. Snorkel yeah, that one was hard because I was so terrified. Why not? Why not? Take some lessons. Why not?
yeah,
And to face those. Then you, of course, you need to do practical things and check things out. Talk to people who have gone before and who have done. I had a
yeah,
mentor who had gone to New Zealand and done the hikes and helped me get those things scheduled. So yes, you can get some anchors by connecting with people that you are comfortable with. I ended up staying with someone I had met online about who was dealing with her husband's Parkinson's and stayed at their farm when I was in New Zealand. All of those things helped. So yes, you can make those connections, but remember they, in terms of going out into the world, they have stores. If you forget something, you can buy it. If you need clothes, you can
yep,
get them. If you need aspirin, you can buy it. They
yep,
have food, they have coffee, they have all those things, and they actually have a quality of life. It may be simpler, it may be more sophisticated, but they have
yep,
quality of life that is at least as wonderful as what we may have in the US.
yep,
And so you don't
absolutely.
need to fear as if you're, admittedly, if you're going to what we would class as a third world country, which is not a good necessarily way to approach, because the people in countries that we would call them are have full lives and beautiful ways of living that have at least as good a quality as the life we have, it, even if it may look different and maybe very much the same. But
Yeah.
that would be the thing, to not be afraid to remember that you can do this, and then just do some practical checking. And read, when I'm looking at a place to stay, I read the reviews. And so I don't end up in a party hostel. If I'm getting a hostel, I get in one that's
Right.
simple things.
Yeah, I've made that mistake a couple of times, and I've learned how to check and review comments and or read reviews, I should say, and things like that. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to make sure that you're still going to get a decent night's sleep.
Yes.
Yep. So you were